Okay, I think we may have everyone currently in the room. Good morning again. My name is Monet Iheanacho. I will be hosting the call this morning. Today is March 22nd of 2023. We welcome you all here. If you have not already done so, please update your name with your affiliation in the participation list so that you can get ample credit for your participation on the call, especially for the software vendor community. This is part of the compliance requirement. These meetings are recorded and are shared on the NEMSIS website and the YouTube channel. Feel free to share this information with your team or review it as needed. And we encourage your participation. You are welcome to come off mute or use the chat feature. We will review the chat dialogue during our post-meeting debrief. And let's see here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started today with the agenda. And the first thing I would like to talk about is the NEMSIS annual meeting. I am going to share our website really quick, so give me a second. Okay, so we have a location on the NEMSIS website where we're sharing the 2023 annual meeting information. And currently we have the save the date flyer here. So we would love for you to save those dates of August the 22nd through the 24th. Please join us in Park City, Utah for our NEMSIS annual meeting. We are building an informative, collaborative, engaging meeting, and you all are invited to attend. We are currently working on the agenda and the registration links for both the NEMSIS for the NEMSIS portion of the meeting, as well as the hotel venue. We have been working to secure the best and the lowest rates at the venue. And we will make an announcement when the links are ready for you to do your registration. If you have already pre-registered at the hotel venue, will you please send me your name so that I can ensure, first of all, you get the lowest rate and that we get you into the NEMSIS group block. So if you have already pre-registered, please help us and we'll help you as well to get the best rates. If you have any questions about anything related to the NEMSIS meeting, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I'll go back to, are there any questions about the annual meeting at this time? Okay, don't be shy. If you have questions, there's several folks here that you can email about the annual meeting. And let me go back to the agenda. Okay, and now I will turn the time over to Lauri Lunde. She's going to do the stakeholder introductions.
Sounds good. Thanks, Monet. And I would like to share my screen as well here. Can you guys see that yet? Oh.
Not yet.
Okay, one moment here. Can you see that?
No, but just says Lauri Lunde has started sharing, but we don't
Okay.
see anything
It
yet.
says you're screen sharing. Hang on, let me choose a different window here. How about that?
There we go.
Okay. I want to do a little introduction today, and this is a new tradition we've started just to get to know others on the call with the hopes of building connections that can lead to increased collaboration with other vendors or state data managers and other EMS stakeholders, and also just to have some fun and get to know each other. And our introduction today When asked what do they like to do to relax or unwind, they said they like to take their dog for a walk, drink some tea, or go skiing. If you have guesses, feel free to type a name in the chat as I'm going through this. Something interesting they shared is that they have a son who's adopted from Uganda, and they once watched a pig be stoned to death by a coconut in Tonga. Sounds like an interesting story. What do you like best about their job? They said it's nice to know that the work we do helps to improve patient care and save lives. Any guesses? All right, I am introducing myself today. So here's some pictures I shared of my husband and I, my dog Ellie, who I do love to take for walks, and she's a good anti-stress tool there. And then also some pictures of my 4 grandkids who are 4 and under. So there's a little introduction about me today. Clay, you guessed. Nice job. And then I also wanted to give a quick recap on where we are with states turning to transitioning to the version 3.5 data standard and turning green on the map. Congratulations first to Connecticut, who just yesterday turned green. And then recently, in the last few weeks, we've had New Jersey, California, Vermont turn green as well. And then several states that have submitted resources and are purple on the map. And we know that they are close to being able to turn green as well. So no matter where you are in the process, if you have questions, please reach out and we're happy to point you to some resources or get answers to your questions as you're working on this. That is all I have today. Back to you, Monet.
Thank you, Lauri. We appreciate that information, and I knew it was you. All right, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Clay Mann. He's going to talk about the ACS trauma triage custom elements.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me okay, Monet?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for joining everyone this morning. Great to have you with us. I want to detail the upcoming critical patch and provide some resources that will help you kind of take a good look at what will be included in that critical patches. You'll remember we're undergoing a critical patch to correct or to revise E-N303 and E-N304 to represent the new 2021 trauma triage criteria that were released by the American College of Surgeons. There are also 2 small Schematron revisions that will be made just to correct errors that are associated with those 2 rules. And we'll detail those on an upcoming call just to make sure the folks are familiar with that as well. In keeping with the spirit of a critical patch, none of the other requested changes for the NEMSIS standard, whether that be considered minor or cosmetic or major, none of those are included in the critical patch. We're staying true to the definition of a critical patch, correcting quote errors in the standard that make it less than functional, right? So it will be the modifications to E-N303, E-N304, and some small revisions to the Schematron file. So we have a number of resources that you can begin to kind of look at what will be included in that critical patch. We're still on schedule to release that in May. We're updating some of our tools as well, along with this revision, including an update to the tool we're using for the electronic data dictionary. So you may see some changes there. But let's go through the resources that are available to you. I will begin with an Excel spreadsheet that was sent to all vendors this morning. We have a listserv. You should have this in your inbox. It's basically an Excel spreadsheet that allowed Josh Legler and others that were involved to kind of detail how we would be modifying E-N303 and E-N304 to meet the new ACS criteria. So you'll find you'll find 3 tabs on this Excel spreadsheet. First tab takes the new criteria that are basically red criteria and yellow criteria. We show the actual documents and cards that were made available by the ACS. There was some, we worked directly with the American College of Surgeons to make sure that the language that we were including as the labels within each of those 2 elements, EN303 and EN304, best met the spirit of what they were trying to capture with these 2 categories. The translation from, you know, seeing a visual card like the red and green cards and actually turning those into labels within an element took a little bit of work. So you can take a look at this tab and see exactly what the labeling will be for the revision. Tab 2 provides a mapping between the 2021 criteria and the 2011 criteria that are here in column F. And you can see there are clearly, as we worked to do this translation, there are new elements that are added to EN303 and EN304. There are updates to labels or changes to the actual labels on each of the values, and some remained exactly the same. So you can take a look at this as well to kind of understand the relationship between the old trauma triage criteria and the new trauma triage criteria. And we have another document that will make this easier for some of your stakeholders, either your customers or your products or at the state level, to kind of understand those changes a little better. And I will present that in just a minute. And then this last tab, we basically just provide all of the documentation that was needed to build the national custom elements that I'll show to you in just a minute. So the actual XSD, the table contents, right, that represent each of the sections within the NEMSIS standard for a NEMSIS element, and was used to build the national custom elements. So that Excel spreadsheet, all of the vendors should have received that this morning. If you haven't, feel free to put something in the chat and we'll make sure that you get a copy of that. And we've sent this out, I think, before as well. If any of the state folks would like to have this Excel document as well, just let us know in the chat and we will send that to you. So let's go to the NEMSIS website and I'll show you where you can find those national custom elements. So it's the traditional way, right? If you go to nemsis.org and technical resources, and you choose, let's see, the National Custom Element Library, you access the actual library here. It'll take you to the map where you can search for the different custom elements that states use. But of course, we have this National Custom Elements tab. Click there. And here you'll find an alpha list of all of the national custom elements that we've developed, mostly associated with COVID in 2020. We're working to organize this a little bit so that there will be bins of types of national elements to make this more user-friendly. But since it's alphanumeric, if you go down to through the list, you'll get to EN303, EN304 is listed here. And so we've actually built the actual XSD for the new EN303 and EN304. All the information is here, so you'll find the new custom element codes, and if there is an associated NEMSIS code that currently exists in 3.5, you'll see it in this list here. Here's the descriptions, and you'll find both for EN303 and for EN304. So I'll stop there first and see if there are any questions associated with the Excel spreadsheet or the presence of the national custom elements. All right. I'll also show you a draft of the final document that wanted to make you aware of. I mentioned this briefly. So we're trying to make a more user-friendly version of an infographic that will describe what changes are happening to E-Injury 03 and E-Injury 04. So it will probably look a lot like this. We've got some work to do on this before we release it, but it basically shows you the new 2021 criteria that all of our providers will see in E-Injury 03 and E-Injury 04. What's the custom code associated with that? What action was necessary, right? If there was an element that exactly matched across the 2011 and 2021 version, it indicates exact match. If there are some elements or some values that have changed and were meant to kind of flush out a 2011 criteria or to slightly modify it, you'll see how those are mapped with the old version and the new version, and then the new elements that were added with the 2021 criteria. And then if there were just labels that needed to be updated, right? So it wasn't an exact match. It uses the same NEMSIS code as the 2011 codes, but the label needed to be updated. So each of those will be provided for E-Injury 03, E-Injury 04. And so this will hopefully be a document that you'll be able to use with your actual, for vendors, for your customers, and then for states to be able to distribute this to your EMS agencies to help them understand, what's actually changing in regards to the criteria. Last comment, and then open up for any questions you may have. Ann Vosbrink raised a good question yesterday on the data manager's call for NESMSO. We're still scheduled to have the critical patch come out in May. We're finalizing a date associated with that, and we'll report that to you very quickly. And then we're hoping to discuss with this group on the next call kind of a period whereby we would expect all of the software packages to be able to migrate to the critical patch. And so that folks like Ann in Arizona and across the country can those that want to go to the new criteria will have the ability to assign a date where they'd like all of their providers to be educated and trained on the changes and be able to start implementing the new E-Injury 03 and E-Injury 04. So we'll work on timing on our next call, and we'll hopefully have this flyer ready by then, so it'll be completely fleshed out and ready to go. So I'll pause there. I think you now have like 95% of all the work that will be included in critical patch, the actual XSD structures. So that should be helpful for all the vendors to begin to work on that. Any questions that we can answer?
Hey, this is Josh. I was wondering if I could point out a couple things for the vendors.
Yeah.
For vendors who are accessing the Git repositories or cloning those into your environment, the National Custom Elements Git repository has the state dataset files for both NEMSIS 3.4 and 3.5 with these custom element configurations now added into them. So if you've built the ability to process a state dataset file in order to configure custom elements, then you could just go grab those state data set files and bring them into your platform. The second thing I wanted to mention was that you'll notice that these custom codes look like NEMSIS standard codes, and that was intentional. So these custom codes are the codes that will become the standard codes in the critical patch of the XSD. So the idea here was through the custom element structure to give vendors a head start on what they can expect the XSD to contain when it comes out. So if you implement these new 2021 labels and codes, then today, of course, if you were to export that data, you're going to have to map it in some cases and use the custom element structure to export the full details. But when the new XSD comes out, If you've implemented those new labels and those new codes, those are exactly going to be the labels and codes that the new XSD will support.
Thank you, Josh. Any questions regarding any of the tools or available resources? All right, sounds good. I'll turn it back over to you, Monet.
Thank you, Clay and Josh, for the information. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, we were going to have a presentation by Mr. Ben Fisher. However, his family has welcomed a new arrival to their family. So we'll hear from Ben next time. And I would like to just inquire if Mr. Eric Chaney is on the on the call, or Jeremy Kingsman from NHTSA's Office of EMS. I don't believe I saw either of them.
Hey, Monet, this is Jeremy.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, I think the only update I have, I think folks we've talked about the ONDCP non-fatal opioid overdose dashboard several times, and I think we mentioned it quite frequently. They recently made some additions to that dashboard. There's some new tabs on demographics, which is great, and folks at the TAC have been working really hard with ONDCP to kind of continue to improve and add some additional features there. So if you hadn't had a chance to look at it recently, I would take a look at it. And then, as always, we're really focused right now on doing our best to connect state offices of EMS with their state highway safety office. The NEMSIS TAC has been helping us to do that as well. So, especially as it relates to the additional funding that's available from the Department of Transportation. So as you have interest there, or you're starting to have those conversations or trying to connect with your state highway safety office, please feel free to reach out to us or to the TAC or Randall Emmerman. We're happy to try and facilitate those conversations and get things going there for you. And I think that's all I have. I think Eric may be traveling today. I think he may be on his way out to Utah, actually. So, but yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Hey, Monet.
Yes.
Jeremy raised a really good point. If I could share my screen real quickly, I just detail some of those changes that were made to the ONDCP dashboard.
Yeah, absolutely. Please share.
Great. I think you'll need to stop. There we go. Let me see if I can share my screen. Yeah, so thanks, Jeremy. That was really important to kind of detail for the states the changes. I think all the states are focused now on disparities in healthcare among certain subgroups, and of course that's incredibly important to the current administration. So we did add to the dashboard a second tab called the Disparity Explorer that's found right up here, and it just basically for the 365 rolling day period. So over the last year for non-fatal opioid overdoses, you can look at the major categories that are made available on the first tab that are highlighted across the top. So we go back here, you can see the average time to a patient who's suffering an overdose, what's the number of overdoses, the rate, and the average number of naloxone administrations, and the percentage of patients that weren't transported to a medical facility. All those are present here across the top, but you can now look at it by subclassifications of the patients, right? By age, by race, or by gender, or by urbanicity. So this may be of interest to many of the states. May have similar questions. Then the other changes are more minor. We included an ability to indicate counties that are not supplying data to NEMSIS, and so would not be properly represented in this map. And those occur in this white color, right? So LA County, there's some counties in Texas and some other locations across the country. So those are the major changes that were made to the dashboard. And if you have other questions that come up with within your states, or any of the vendors have other questions that come to them where we might be able to modify this and make it more useful, feel free to let us know. Thanks, Monet. Any questions about the ONDCP dashboard?
Thank you, Clay. And Chris Hoffman added the link to that dashboard in the chat if you need a quick access point for that dashboard. Okay, let me go back to the agenda. All right. So I want to mention that we have a training coming up in April. Now, normally we would host our trainings the first Tuesday of the month, but during this training, we had to move the date to Wednesday. So it'll be Wednesday, April 5th. The time is 12 p.m. to 1 Eastern Standard Time. The topic will be an introduction to the NEMSIS elements, datasets, and schematron validations. Jen Correa will be the host and the presenter for this particular training. I know that this will be valuable for the states, maybe software vendors as well, but everyone is invited to attend. So we will have a flyer coming out for this information, but I wanted to mention it here so that you have an opportunity to put it on your schedule and come and listen to the wealth of information that Jen will share. And now we're at the open forum portion of the agenda. Are there any topics that we should discuss here? Please feel free to come off mute and let's have an open discussion. Anyone? There's 102 of you on the call.
Clay's hat is styling today. I think that looks pretty good, Clay.
The what? The what? This morning? Sorry.
I said your hat's styling. It looks pretty good.
Oh, well, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I try to just protect folks from the glare that can come off the top of my head. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
All right. Anyone else? Any topics?
Clay, can I say something?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, sure, Laurel. Yeah, in fact, thank you for speaking up.
Yeah, so this is Laurel. I'm sure that Laurel Bader from the NEMSIS TAC, I'm sure that many of you have spoke to me or worked with me before. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone on the call and everyone I've worked with over the years here. This is my last NEMSIS V3 call and my last week at the TAC. I'm moving on to somewhere else in a couple of weeks, and I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone in this community that I've worked with while I've been at the TAC, and I hope to see many of you and work with many of you in different ways later on. But thank you so much. It's been great to work with all of you.
Thank you, Laurel. We appreciate you. And I know Clay has more to say about that.
Hey, Laurel, this is Karen. Sad news. You've done great work over the years. So thanks for everything you've done at the NEMSIS TAC in it's not a decade yet, but it sure feels like it, just because you've provided so much great information and just value to everything the NEMSIS TAC does. I wish you great luck in everything you do. You are always successful.
Thank you, Karen. That's really kind of you.
And there are many folks commenting in the chat, Laurel. Everyone's wishing you success. So thank you.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. You guys are wonderful. Couldn't imagine a better group of people to have worked with.
Okay, if there is nothing more, this is going to be a very short call. And we encourage you to think of things you would like to discuss with us and bring them up on future calls or send us emails and let us know what's on your mind. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next call, which is April the 12th. And until then, have a great rest of your day.